of Joburg to the Pretoria Sun. A new chapter starting and it's just begun. It's not Santon, baby, and it's not Margate. We're trading the reef for the Lone Star State. No JRU or the South Fork crew, just a red, white, and blue welcome waiting for you. From Bosnia's hills to the Botswana sand, he's carried the fire all across the land. A life for the flag, for the faith, for the free. Now he's opening the gates for you and for me. Oh, get ready for the Colonel's Texas meet and greet, where the Southers and the Patriots all dance in the street. Under the eagle's wings, where the spirit flies high, underneath that big old Dallas sky, it's camaraderie, it's liberty, it's a brand new day. South Africa, welcome to the USA. You've been through the fire, you've stood the test. Now come find your peace in the heart of the West. No more looking back at the shadows and gloom. In the land of the brave, there is plenty of room. Grab a plate, grab a hand, feel the Texas heat. There's a whole lot of love at this meet and greet. The Colonel is coming, yeah, he's leading the way to the greatest nation where we're gonna stay. Service and honor, moral and just, promise of freedom. We put our trust from the Southern Cross to the bright Lone Star. We know who we are, we know who we are. Oh, get ready for the Colonel's Texas meet and greet, where the Southers and the Patriots all dance in the street. Under the eagle's wings, where the spirit flies high, underneath that big old Dallas sky, it's camaraderie, it's liberty, it's a brand new day. South Africa, welcome to the USA. The Colonel's in town, yeah, he's in town, in the Lone Star State. Don't be late. From the bushveld to the bayou, welcome home, welcome home. Welcome home, welcome
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hello folks, welcome back to the program here. Good to see that this is finally working properly. YouTube has been very difficult today with streams not producing things when they're supposed to produce, and so I can't see if I'm live. Let me do a sound check and see how we sound here. I'm live. Let me do a sound check. That sounds pretty good. Welcome back on a weekend. Again, apologies for the late start. Not intentional, but rugby interfered, and crappy rugby at that. Actually, it was pretty good rugby, but very disappointing rugby for me. Not happy with the outcome. The Bulls bucked the trend and won. Congratulations to the Bulls, which I'm happy to see them win, but not when I picked them the other direction in Super Brew. And on top of that, the Stormers suck. They really do suck. It's so disappointing. I said all season long, this is not an 8-0 team, and unfortunately, it turns out I'm correct. Really, 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 really. What a mess, what a mess, what a mess, what a mess, what a mess. Anyway, folks, yeah, so there you go. Yeah, hang on a second here. What is with this beer? There we go. Yeah, spot there. Busy day as usual. Once I'm finished here, then I've got to go to, I do a conversation with a journalist in the UK. After the journalist in the UK conversation, then it's off to, I might be making a video. There is, I think I'm going to do it anyway with the person's permission. One of my viewers wound up in, well, I guess he's my viewer because he reached out to me. I hope so. He reached out to me saying they were treated abysmally and showed me they were stuck in a basement in someone else's house. I mean, I don't know what happened there, but I did some research in my 40 minutes of free time this morning between games and found out how much that organization makes. I made some graphics, the amount of money that comes from U.S. government, and I wanted to do an expose on this. But and now I found out from the person that they have moved them to a hotel, so that's good to see. So what I'll probably do is make a comparison showing a good refugee experience and a bad refugee experience and narrate that and talk about how it's an uneven experience and there are lots of reasons for it, but it's certainly not because there isn't any money. That's a lie, which is something that refugees being told. Yeah. You like the hoodie? Yeah, it's a Utah Mammoth. It's an NHL hockey team. Yep. Yeah, black looks good on me. Could have been a bad cowboy. Yep. All right, welcome back on a Saturday, folks. I watch a few videos destination I'm going to and realize that the community is very active, committing their time and helping each other, building a great town. Well, videos can be misleading, but that's probably a true statement. Mark Myberg, what's going on, man? Loretta, lots of folks here. Can't say hi to everybody here, but let me see if I missed anything. We've had a few nasty people come in and post comments on videos and in the chat before we get started, so I need moderators to pay attention to that because, I mean, I'm really busy. I can't just go always check them. Sometimes I do. Yeah, last night I had to keep taking comments out. Yep. It is a strange feeling, you know. I mean, I've gone through that experience many, many times. I've lived in 16 countries, so I know what it's like to say, well, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. I don't live here anymore. Yep, I had to say that to Germany 3 times, to Italy, to Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, Ethiopia. Yep. Yep. Called a Trumper by the Dane the other day. That's because he's deluded. He's an absolute lunatic. The person that came on something said, God, this is really driving me nuts, this freaking beard. Sorry, folks, really driving me nuts. There we go. The person came on and was saying something stupid about me the other day, said some profanity about me being Trump. And, you know, these people are pathetic. If you don't want to murder ICE, if you don't want to flood our country with criminal aliens who divide our country, split the moral and social cohesion of this country, if you don't want to bow down and allow Islamists to use your churches for their services when it's your Christian church, if you don't do that, then these people hate you. That doesn't make you a Trump person. Idiots. All right, I can't. This is driving me nuts. All right, I'm back. Not the audience. Stupid beard is driving me nuts. It's distracting looking at it. May not distract you, but it's distracting me. So I'm back. Well, disulfide fluoro. Okay, that's a mouthful. Yeah, I'm sorry you've been hurt by stupid people. There's a lot of stupid people out there. All right, we're going to get back. A lot of chat going on here. That's good to see. Blocking all the sharks on my phone. I saw that in the show. Sharks, one of Stormers still in second position. Doesn't matter, Fun Polaric. They've squandered 2 games to a useless team that's not going to make the playoffs. If they make it, they'll crap out. So that was a shame. You attempt to shave the beard. Oh, I don't really care for the beard, but it's become a trademark, so I really can't get rid of it. I've tried to get rid of it a few times. People lose their minds. My coffee mug collection. You don't really see many of my coffee mugs. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Yeah, I know. It's a trademark. I everywhere I go, people recognize it. But I look much younger without the beard, and when I keep my hair short, because it's darker underneath. See, it's darker up in here. See, but the gray sits on top. Yeah, don't touch the beard. Yes, Alan, it's a bit of OCD. I don't like. I get focused on things. Yep. Francois, frankly, I talked about that yesterday in both my broadcasts. Did you not watch them? I thought you were there. How are you really doing? I'm Faraday Smith. I'm okay. I could be a lot better. I could be wealthier. It'd be nice. Bitter Ender, you got your membership straightened out. Cool. Cool. You got it sorted out with your card. Yep. Thanks for understanding. Well, yeah, I understand. Yeah, Arnold says, don't touch the beard. Dom lemon limon. Okay, so Frank, so what do you want me to repeat? I mean, I talked about it yesterday. So it was a foolish move by South Africa's government. I don't know what they hope to achieve by that. Who are they doing this for? Do they think that attracting a few tens of thousands of radical Muslims who live in the Western Cape is going to change their electoral fortunes? Do they think that kowtowing and supporting the actions of the terrorist state of Iran is going to help them vis-a-vis geopolitics? They're making themselves an isolated place. This behavior, if it wasn't for Donald Trump being president, the Europeans would have slammed the South Africans. But the Europeans have small penises, and they have penis envy, and they have real issues because they're small-minded people. It's like Thabo Mbeki trying to take on Robert Mugabe. He's like, oh, he's the great liberation man. I'm just an Oxford graduate. Yeah, it's the same thing. The Europeans, they hate Trump, and if they didn't hate Trump because they're so small in comparison to Trump, who towers over them, if it wasn't for that, the Europeans would be castigating and attacking South Africa for its actions against Israel yesterday. That's what will be happening. But because of Trump, they won't say anything. They'll allow this to happen. But the arguments made by Crispin Piri and by the Durko make no sense whatsoever. First off, those people who came there performing diplomatic actions would have had a diplomatic visa to come in the country. And it would have been rejected if they didn't want them there. Now, if they were there on a tourist visa conducting diplomatic actions, which is not what Durko claimed, then the Israelis would be wrong. But I find that impossible. The Israelis are very sensitive about their diplomatic status all around the world. I know I've worked with Israeli diplomats and with Jordanian diplomats and with Egyptian diplomats from all over the world. Yeah, they're very sensitive about it. So it just doesn't pass muster. And then the lie about, the ambassador has been attacking President Ramaphosa. There's no attacks. One was a oblique compliment, but it's also a dig, but it's not an attack. He said it's good to see that President Ramaphosa is right for a change, and he, about something he did. But there's one tweet in the past 4 months that even talks about Ramaphosa, so it's just ridiculous. Even his retweets, for the most part, aren't offensive. So this is just an excuse for whatever reason they want to do this, and it was dumb. Israel responded immediately, and then they make things worse by claiming that Israel has no right to expel that ambassador. Of course, Israel has a right to expel that ambassador. It's their prerogative. It's their prerogative. No, but the bottom line is this. What happened is Daliendo is who prompted this. Daliendo has a relationship with the Israeli government, and the ANC doesn't have that relationship because of their disgusting anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, and their hatred of the only democracy in the Middle East, despite the fact they sell them $500 million a year of coal. They won't be doing that for long, so they'll get their coal from America most likely. No, this is just stupid. The people who run the foreign policy in South Africa have the intelligence of a 7-year-old who has never been to school. They have the intelligence of someone who was deprived of protein before the age of 5 and is suffering from stunting. It's really sad to see this. I mean, there are talented people in South Africa that understand foreign policy and diplomacy, but the people in South Africa's Durko don't. We have a failed former justice minister who now is a failed foreign minister, and you add to that a failed defense minister running around, a failed agriculture minister around, and a failed minister in the presidency who is the intelligence minister, yet she has no intelligence, and you just see why South Africa is in the state that it's in. Never mind all the corruption. That's before we can get the corruption. The ministers are incompetent. They're not even capable of carrying out their duties. And then you have this internal nonsense with McPherson and then with Willie Ocamp and Dion George. It's just insane. It's insane. The whole thing is just rotten to the core. Just rotten to the core. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, in this country, the leftists who run the media are attacking Kristi Noem, who's doing her job. Doing her job. She's a competent secretary, and she's getting it done. She's doing exactly what she's charged with doing. If anybody's lacking in this cabinet, it's potentially Pam Bondi. If they dare to block Bozell, well, then if they block Bozell, then South Africa its officials will face sanctions. And there will be a whole laundry list of all the reasons why the United States is doing it. And they can cry that they're being attacked, they're being singled out, but that's not true. That's not true. The patience that the United States has displayed towards South Africa for the past 25 years of abusive conduct towards us has been remarkable. but they pretend like they never done anything, but they do it all the time. Do you remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we had an exercise at Lokhatla in the Northern Cape, and some ANC asswipe decided that we couldn't bring weapons? We don't send troops abroad without their weapons. This isn't a holiday. There's troops doing an exercise. They take their weapons because there's a very real possibility they might have to deploy from there to another combat zone. And I saw it in Uganda. We had C-17s that were in what's the damn peninsula there? I'm drawing a blank now. Hang on, I need to look at maps. Arabian Peninsula there. Oh, I'm drawing a blank there. Oh my goodness, I can't. Senior moments here. I'm trying to do this too fast. Who am I thinking of? Begins with an M. No, it's not an M. Oman. They were in Oman. We had C-17s that were in Oman on an exercise. They were directed from the exercise to redeploy to Uganda. And they flew C-17s to us so we could take Rwandans to the Central African Republic on a peacekeeping mission. And so then we could also take the Burundians to us, Rwandans and Burundians, yeah. And we took both of them. And then in the midst of that, we had a non-combat evacuation operation from South Sudan. And we had guys come in who were shot up. Then their mission became a medevac. They took the wounded people on the C-17 and flew them from Entebbe to Nairobi in 42 minutes or something like that, which is like a record. It was unbelievably fast for an aircraft like that. So, yeah. So, I mean, the ANC politician wanted us to send our soldiers there, our Marines, with no firearms. What the hell is that? We've been doing exercise with South Africa for years. So this is an egregious offense. Also a violation of the status of force agreement that we had. We worked out a status of force agreement, and that violates it. South Africa didn't live up to the terms of it. But see, these aren't the things that people know about. They don't pay attention to. They did this to us. Yep. Of course, Durko's ideology doesn't represent the majority of South Africa's sentiments. It represents about 2%. What more steps can Israel take? Well, Israel can take malicious steps against them. They can sabotage Israel, or they can sabotage South Africa's financial markets. They can sabotage South Africa's government servers. They have incredible cyber techniques. I don't think they'll do that. They have incredible cyber warfare capability. They can do all kinds of things to harm South Africa. The ANC wouldn't know which side is up if they wanted to do it to them. They can cancel the contracts for the coal that they're buying, which will mean $500 billion of money will sit on the shelf, and that won't be sold. Chinese won't make up for that. They already have enough coal. They can do a lot to hurt South Africa, or they can just ask Trump to do something. You know, I'm not 100% certain that the ANC will not accept Brent Bozell's credentials. There's no reason to reject them whatsoever. A rejection of Brent Bozell's credentials when he hasn't served as ambassador anywhere. He has no track record as such. On the spurious claim that in 1977 or 1987 he supported a calling the ANC terrorists. Well, the ANC has identified themselves as terrorists. That is what Nkonto Weesizwe did. It blew up bars and restaurants and communications towers. Yes, it committed acts of terror. Nelson Mandela himself admitted as much. It's no secret. Calling them a terrorist organization when they were committing acts of terror is hardly a shocking statement. What point are they trying to prove, Joe Texas? What point will they prove by doing that? That they're stupid? Maybe. Yep. Oh, Light Rain. Yeah, there's other things. Light Rain, I need your help. I need your help. Please send me an email, Light Rain, if you don't mind. I don't think we've ever communicated. Or if you've got my number, send me a WhatsApp. Light Rain, I need your help. I got a family in Spokane. I don't think I need it now, but I need to have you as a backup. There's a family in Spokane that appears to have been treated like crap. Yeah. So thank you for the info today. It really gave us peace of mind. I've been following you since 2019. But I wasn't on in 2019, Teresa. You mean 2020. You mean 2020. Yeah. So, yeah, Light Rain, please do. If they're here, let me look and see if he sent me a message. I don't want to give myself away. So, kind of busy. Try to find who said that to me. Okay, that's not who it was. Okay, here's who it was. Hopefully he'll read that. He is reading it, so okay. I think spat between the ANC and USA can impede the... No. How? AGOA has nothing to do with that. AGOA is not for South Africa. People need to stop thinking it's about South Africa. The South African officials convince you that that's an agreement between South Africa and the United States. It's not. It's an agreement between the U.S. and Africa. And the U.S. administration decides who's eligible for it. South Africa is not going to be eligible for it. If they are, I'll be shocked. Yeah, look what happened last time the Zulus asked people to leave their weapons behind. Exactly right. Exactly. It's not for South Africa. People need to quit making that assumption. See, this is the problem with people who tell you things they don't know what they're talking about. I don't know who told you that, but AGOA is not for... It's the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. It's not the South Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. Okay, I'm waiting for a response from this person. He's writing me a book. Don't write a book. Just tell me if I can use the photos. Exactly. It's not SAGOA. It's AGOA. Yep. So anyway, yeah. So it would be very dumb if they don't accept Brent Bozell. Look, there's far more effective ways to do this. And the same with the Israeli guy. All you have to do is... I'm going to have to cut this because it's driving me nuts. All you have to do is ignore him. You can ignore him. You credit him, then you just never give him office calls. So he asks for an office call, you make him wait, you make him wait, you make him wait, you make him wait. I mean, do I have to teach the South African Durko how to perform diplomacy? I mean, I've seen this over and over again. You know, it's... and then eventually, you know, it leads to a deterioration of relations. Shame. Okay, anyway, so hypothetical scenario. Yep. Spokane is close to Idaho forest. Not too far away. Yeah, Fiketi Mabalua is sinking the ANC to the bottom. Yep. Yep, well, they can dump all of them. They can get rid of Angie Macheka, Cyril Ramaphosa, Kumbuzo Nchiveni, Ronald Lamola, Gwede Mantashe, Fiketi Mabalula, all of them can all go. They're all dead weight, and they're dragging down that party. Yep, every one of them. Yep. All right, so... Yeah, Light Rain, you're right to me. They may still need a little bit of help, okay? I mean, you might be able to put them in touch with people. So, anyway. No, before I get to the news, because I want to get to the news here, it's a Saturday, but I just want to cover something. So, I keep getting comments and contact from people who are not happy with their situation in the U.S. after coming here. I don't know what expectations some of you have been painted, what people told you. But quite frankly, the odds of you moving into a place anywhere unless you live in an informal settlement or you live in a ramshackle place in South Africa, most South Africans have nicer houses than most people around the world. Most, I didn't say all. So unless you are in accommodation that's not at that level, the odds are you're going to wind up in a place that's smaller and not as comfortable as what you had. And that's just the reality. If you don't like that, then stay in South Africa. You also are going to come here with very little money unless you have resources. And you're not going to get much money to get started. So you have to be prepared to be frugal. Hence the reason I've talked about Goodwill shops. I've talked about thrift shops. I've talked about, going to food banks where you can get food for free. There are lots of things. If you're in central Pennsylvania, you won't go hungry. You won't go hungry. We have a church-based organization, a faith-based organization that's located in this county that feeds, I think, 35,000 people a week, something like that. Which is shocking. How can 35,000 people not have money? I mean, how do people fail when there's jobs everywhere? There's no reason for anybody to live in poverty in America, none whatsoever, unless you live in Manhattan or San Francisco where the rents are just too high. But other places, people make poor decisions. I mean, there's jobs, lots of jobs. Anyway, so when it comes to refugees, I'm getting people who are making some comments that aren't relevant. They aren't relevant to their situation. And I appreciate you telling it to me, but it's not going to sway me to help you or not help you. Telling me about this or that. But what you need to do is tell me about facts. And a lot of people that think that they've got it pretty bad don't have it bad. I had somebody tell me that this town they put me in as high crime, and they said, well, I have a relative in another town. And I said, well, you do realize that town has crime just as high. And I looked at the statistics, for violent crime, and they're almost identical. but because someone told them crime was high there and someone told me the other place crime was low. No. Crime in inner cities, in poor parts of towns like Chester, Pennsylvania, and parts of East Baltimore, as well as parts of other major cities are there because of the people that live there and the culture that they tolerate and the culture that they promulgate, and that's just a reality. And you want to take that any way you want, that isn't any particular group, because there are all kinds of groups that behave in the fashion in different places, but so that's happening, and I don't know what expectations you're telling you, but if you think that you're going to walk out of a house in KZN or out of the Free State where you've got thousands of square feet and you've got multi-car garages, which most people don't have, and you're going to get the same thing here, coming here, unless you're rich, you're not going to get that. That isn't how it works. It's common sense. The start will be tough and everyone needs to expect it. No, but I mean, I've got some people that are just, look, we've got people who are generally being treated like crap. First off, the family in Florida where I showed you the photographs, man, they've been treated very well. I've got a text message from someone today saying that they got an amazing agent in another part of the country, but I've got a handful of people with genuine problems who've genuinely been treated poorly, including this family that was stuck in very poor accommodations. And wow. Anyway. Yeah, there you go. They should try London. £5,000 a month for a 3-bedroom. Wow, that's $8,000. I can't afford that. Exactly. If you can survive in South Africa, you can survive in the USA. But some people, I don't, look, I mean, I'm not trying to crap on refugees, because this is very few people are being treated poorly. And those people have a legitimate reason to be concerned. But a very small number of people, and I seem to get a lot of these cases, are complaining about their circumstances, and they're also overstating things. This whole thing about moving around the country is not healthy. All right? It's not healthy. First off, when you come here, you get placed somewhere. You want to go somewhere? That's on you. It isn't free. Do you have a car? No. Have you driven America? No. Guess what? How are you going to get from, I'm just making this up, okay, how are you going to get from Baltimore to Santa Fe? You're going to fly. And it's not a major route, so you're going to have to route through somewhere. You're going to pay for the flight. You got a family of 6? Guess who pays for 6 tickets? You do. There goes all the money you have if you cash out. So this grass is greener sort of thing, I'm not trying to tell people they have to stay places, because that's your prerogative. You go where the hell you want. This is America. I'm not trying to stop you. What I'm trying to tell you, though, folks, is the bottom line when it comes to this stuff is that it's on you. It's your choice. And so, you got to be smart about things. Again, my advice is get your Social Security number, unless you're being maltreated, which I've got a few cases of, like we saw with Church World Service and this other one I'm dealing with. You need to gut it out initially. I know they try to force you into leases, which is a bit of a problem, but you can break a lease and just lose your deposit. Normally, check the terms of the lease. Make sure you understand the terms of the lease. Not that you're on the hook to pay the whole year. You usually get stuck paying a month's rent or something like that. But that if you're unhappy and you're stuck somewhere and it's unacceptable, then that's, But every town in America has $1 million houses, $2 million houses. Every town except small towns. All these big towns have that. There's lots of nice places in every city. Washington, D.C. is a place I don't care for, but it's got unbelievably ritzy, upscale places. But anyway, so, it's, look, you have to, you're authorized to work, but you got to get the EAD. And now, apparently, according to the January rule change, you have to, according to that rule change, and I looked it up. That's what Mad Max said, and I looked it up. In fact, apparently it appears to be true. I looked it up from the U.S. government. Apparently, effective January 1st, you have to have your EAD application in order to get your Social Security number. So, anyway, yeah, so you need those two things. If we stay in Southern, we will end up shack or a grave, so anything in the U.S. is better. Well, that's what I'm thinking, Jolis. Yep. Anyway. Saldana Bay Major resigned yesterday with immediate effect. What's a major? You mean a major in the military? Restart from scratch multiple times. You can do it again. Yep. All right. So enough of that stuff. Okay. Burlington. Burlington Coat Factory. Yeah, they've got cheap winter clothing. Yep. They're all over the country. Yep. Yeah, Alan, I know what you're saying, the Amerikaners. I got you. Yeah, I got you. I understand your objection to that term. Toothless Wonder asked me, is anything between 60 and 100,000 good salary for remote work? Anything between 60 and 100,000 good salary for anything. But then you haven't given me any information, Toothless Wonder. Do you have a family of 7? Not a good income. Is it you? That's a great income. Are you living in Manhattan? Terrible income. Are you living in Central Pennsylvania? Fantastic income. Are you living in West Virginia? You live like a king. So, that's, I don't mean, I'm not making light of your question, but it's a silly question because there's no context. Context matters. I could live like a god in South Africa if I moved to South Africa. I'm not wealthy, but it doesn't take much to own property there, South Africa, compared to America. Yeah, I could start a business there. Yep. Okay, thank you, Light Rain. Yeah, and there you appreciate it. Appreciate it, Light Rain. I'll try to reach out to you later today if I can, okay? No, Lindy didn't miss the news because I had some opening comments. We haven't gotten to it. We're a half hour in. Am I disappointing you? We'll get to it in a moment. Well, you don't even have to wait a whole year. Yep. All right, now we get to the news. Lindy's waiting for the news. Where's Vanna? Who's Vanna? Okay, where's oh, here we go. All right, let's get started with the Israeli TIF, the South Africa Israeli TIF. We actually talked about that. I mean, I already talked the news. That was the first time we talked about for the first several minutes here was that issue. Right. Yeah, well, Liesel, he's right to sulk. I want to sulk too. It sucks. It was pathetic performance again. South Africa and Israel give each other the boot. South Africa declared the top diplomat at Israel's embassy persona non grata on Friday, ordered him out within 72 hours, a move that could worsen strained relations. Israel promptly retaliated by declaring South Africa's senior diplomatic representative persona non grata and giving him the same deadline. Relations between the two countries have been strained since South Africa brought a genocide case over Israel's actions in Gaza. Israel's rejected the case as baseless and correct to do so. Genocide case also contributed to U.S. President Trump's attacks on Pretoria. That's a lie, including a verbal scolding, trade sanctions, and okay, see, this is bullshit. What a disappointment. Oh, it's because Reuters. See, this isn't even Business Tech. Shame on you, Business Tech, for running this story that you've licensed. That's a lie. See, this is just pure bullshit. This is propaganda. Propaganda. What trade sanctions has the United States applied against South Africa? Not a single one. We haven't blocked any goods from South Africa coming here. We haven't set any quotas, unlike the South African government does to us. There's no sanctions against South Africa's trade. That's just pure lie. That's fake news. And Business Tech, you bring shame to yourself by running a licensed story that you don't bother to edit from Reuters. That's pure BS. There are no trade sanctions, just like there are no sanctions against Zimbabwe. Executive order last year cutting all U.S. funding. Okay, no, that's a lie too. We didn't cut all U.S. funding. That's a lie. We cut foreign aid, and then we restored part of it for HIV. So once again, this is a lie. Reuters is a British lying propaganda outlet. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. People in South Africa are screaming for the U.S. to put sanctions on South Africa. A verbal scolding. No, Trump has never scolded South Africa over Israel. That's a lie too. That's a lie. That's an assumption lie. These are just lies. This isn't news. This is just propaganda from Reuters on the Business Tech, which is a reputable site. Shame on you, Business Tech. One of the sites we can actually count on for objective news. You're publishing propaganda. South Africa expels Israeli charge d'affaires from Pretoria for gross abuse of diplomatic privilege. By the way, that's a boilerplate excuse. That's what they put on every letter, whether you did it or not. Yep, the Department of International Relations Cooperation said it declared the Israeli charge d'affaires, Ariel Seidman, persona non grata. Yeah, well, their statement is full of conjecture, innuendo, and no facts. In 2019, South Africa permanently withdrew its ambassador from Tel Aviv, which was a very provocative move. Oh, I like how, at least their record here, they said Israelis killed more than 40, and they put peaceful in quotation marks. That's good because they weren't peaceful. Yep. In November 2023, the National Assembly voted to cut diplomatic ties. Israel shut its embassy in Pretoria. So the provocations are coming from South Africa, not from Israel. South Africa. Oh, wow. Your daughter had an interview with the Blue Bulls, what, to be a cheerleader or to put the team in there? Now we want to know, is your daughter super hot? Overdue or provocative GNU split over the South African expulsion? Well, South African expulsion of Israeli diplomat Ariel Seidman sparked mixed reactions, with the EFF supporting it as long overdue. Of course, in the EFF, Freedom Front Plus criticizing it as unilateral and harmful to national interests. Jewish organizations condemned the move, accusing the government of prioritizing ideology over addressing domestic issues such as water shortages, which Israel is trying to help solve. Portfolio Committee Chair Supra Mahumapelo defended the decision, citing Israel's historical injustice against Palestine in violation of South African sovereignty and diplomatic norms. Israel's not violating South African sovereignty. That's just a lie. It's an outright lie. And what historical injustice against Palestinians? The Palestinians murdered Jews in 1948. They tried to exterminate them in 1948, and they lost. And so they fled abroad. Then in 1956, they attacked again and tried to kill the Jews and the Christians and the Druze and the Muslims who were in Israel. And they lost. In 1967, they amassed their forces, and the Israelis, before they attacked them, struck at them in a six-day war and destroyed their capability. In 1973, they struck again, the Palestinians, along with their Arab friends, and attacked Israel. Over and over and over again, the Palestinians have attacked and murdered people in the state of Israel. So the historical injustices that they're talking about are mostly from the Palestinian side. It doesn't mean the Israelis are blame-free. It doesn't mean they ever committed any offenses. But this is utter nonsense. Sanctions work. Lived it, punish the people, they will change. Well, Mark, I don't disagree that sanctions can work. Yeah, you got to stop answering phone calls from Nigeria. +234 is Nigeria's country code. Stop answering those phone calls. Experts. Ooh, which experts are these? They don't talk to real experts, real political scientists, real history lecturers, real historians, real analysts. They talk to their so-called experts, who I usually am able to tear apart in a heartbeat. Experts warn of complete diplomatic breakdown as South Africa expels Israeli diplomat. South Africa's decision on Friday to declare Israeli diplomat Ariel Seidman persona grata significantly escalated the already fragile relations between Pretoria and Tel Aviv. DIRTCO spokesman Chris Wyatt said today that the declaration was not abrupt, but rather a culmination of activities and followed formal engagements with the Israeli government that failed to address South Africa's concerns. What we've seen over a series of months was the Israeli embassy in South Africa using the X platform to undermine the South African government and show how disrespectful the conduct of the Israeli government has been. Well, taking them to the International Court of Justice is the height of disrespect. We feel that our sovereignty has been undermined. Really? Because someone posted on X? Are you that fragile? Wow. Wow. So where are the experts? I'm waiting for an expert here. The South African Zionist Federation said Seidman was being punished for helping South Africans get clean water. And I agree. I agree. In a country where taps run dry, where children walk kilometers with buckets, where elderly women queue for hours at communal pumps, and where the state has normalized collapse, neglect, and decay, the ANC chose to penalize the one party that is genuinely providing solutions. The Israeli embassy partnered openly and transparently with recognized traditional leadership in the Eastern Cape, a region long abandoned by the state, stripped of dignity by years of corruption, incompetence, and indifference. They worked with communities and civil society to do what the government has spectacularly failed to provide: basic human necessities. Yep, international relations expert Dr. Ayababuola de la Cuva said expulsion was warranted. Of course he did, because you're a leftist. Of course you did. Yeah. Breakout City. Ooh, Helen Zilla says the DA majority in Tshwane is within reach. Really? I'd love to see that, even though the DA is not really impressive. Still love to see someone get a majority in there that's not the ANC. The DA federal chairwoman, Helen Zilla, said the DA winning a clear majority in Tshwane in this year's municipal elections is within reach. Wow. She said Tshwane would be the DA's breakout city. Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to take a long time to fix this. According to Zilla, 35 seats is a margin for who will govern the major metros after the elections. The coalition holds over 110 seats in the 214-seat Tshwane Council. But she's saying outright, they only have, 69? No, how many seats do they have? 89? She seems to think that they're going to get an outright majority. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I'd love to see that. I'd like to see the polling they're coming out with. Good luck, DA. Gauteng police arrested the second suspect in the murder of DJ Warris. the arrest of another suspect in connection with the murder of popular media personality Warwick DJ Warris. The arrest follows an earlier detention of Victor Mahola, who has been charged with premeditated murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Mahola was denied bail on January 26th and is due back in court on February 11th. He was gunned down December 16th as he exited the building in the Carlton Center in Johannesburg. BMW raising a red flag over cheap imports from China and India. The vehicle influx from China and India is costing jobs and harming the economy, says BMW CEO, South Africa CEO. Peter van Binsbergen, CEO of BMW Group South Africa, told Business Times the argument that consumers need cheap new cars is far too single-track because it's costing South Africa jobs in the long run. It's costing the economy. It's also affecting the consumer. A healthy used car market is essential to keep the whole ecosystem running. If you kill it through some very cheap imports, you might affect all the other consumers out there who can't get rid of their cars. Yep, cheap imports. The new vehicle price of some of the Chinese and Indian imports is close to the price that sellers are asking for pre-owned cars, which has forced them to cut their prices. Many South Africans are snapping up the Asian cars, as shown by figures released this week. The Chery Group released the figures. They reported combined sales of 12,600 units, a 147% increase from last year, which is affecting the used car market for low end of the market. Judge President Selby Mbanenge is found guilty of misconduct, but cleared of sexual harassment. A judicial tribunal appointed by Chief Justice was concluded its investigation into a sexual harassment complaint against Anduizwa Mengo, or by Anduizwa Mengo, against Judge President Selby Mbanenge. They found no evidence of gross misconduct, gross incompetence, or gross incapacity. It did determine the judge was guilty of misconduct not amounting to gross misconduct, specifically contravening Article 5.1 of the Code of Judicial Conduct. Okay. It's based on numerous WhatsApp messages exchanged between the parties. Jocular, flirtatious, and even salacious were unwelcome. He admitted to sending the messages, but admitted, yeah. They acknowledged one specific WhatsApp message from Judge President suggested sexual intimacy in East London. The message was politely rebuffed by Mengo, and the tribunal found that the judge accepted this rejection. Wow. Just, man, don't use your social media to flirt with people. And if it's unwarranted, if it's unwanted, stop it. Northern Cape municipal manager is convicted of fraud after giving herself a salary increase. A former municipal manager has been found guilty of fraud after giving herself an unauthorized salary increase and signing off on car and travel allowances for municipal staff without following the required procedures. Advocate, a lawyer, Machadiso Cordelia, 53, the former manager of Polokwane local municipality, was convicted of fraud and contravention of the Municipal Finance Management Act in the Kimberley Serious Commercial Crimes Court. Hawk spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Taboho Tebe said Cordelia issued instructions to the municipal payroll account in 2018 for the payment of car and travel allowances for 13 employees without following the applicable procedures. She unlawfully increased her remuneration package and implemented a 4% rural allowance without informing council or obtaining authorization. Yet another thief caught in government. Well, eviction is looming for former members of parliament from the Chaos Party, also known as MK. Former MK MP France Bongani Mfiki on the right during a session at the National Assembly. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure has issued an ultimatum to 3 former MPs from MK to move from subsidized parliamentary villages or face eviction. Former MPs Garatwa Agnes Mokhotsi, France Bongani Mfiki, and Nomande Grace Mgwebi lost their parliamentary seats just 3 months after being sworn in. Part of a group of 10 MPs who were fired contested the removal, but their application was dismissed with cost. But they refused to leave the residences. They're squatters. Kick them out. The Poppy Act doesn't apply. Cape Town, day 0. We're trying to stoke fears with that nonsense again. Residents face possible water restrictions if usage remains high. Cape Town officials warn residents to urgently reduce water consumption to avoid harsh restrictions in a repeat of 2018. We had record rainfall across South Africa, and we're talking about day 0. Maybe you need to fix the pipes. Maybe you start having a brown water usage policy. Dam storage levels across the metro stand at 62%, nearly 20% points lower than the same time last year, raising fresh concerns about the city's water security. Swimming South Africa is under investigation over the Franschhoek High Performance Center debacle. A decade of talk, 5 years of building, and nothing to show for it as Franschhoek High School, where Swimming SA's High Performance Center was to have been built, is a decaying wasteland. Look at that swimming pool. That's disgusting. Establishment of Franschhoek High Performance Center has been the pipeline for close to a decade under Swimming South Africa, yet there is nothing to show for it but a few derelict buildings. Now, Swimming South Africa will face a special investigating unit explaining where more than $50 million in funds have disappeared to, into the pockets of Caters or BEE. Of course, you don't expect things to actually be built. Franschhoek High School is one of the oldest government schools in the country. They've received money from abroad too. World Aquatics, 8.5 million rand, 35 million from the National Lotteries Commission, the Sports Trust, 6 million. Total cost of the project was set to be 111 million, but nothing's been built. Look at that. Shallow wastewater. What a disgusting, disgusting bunch of theft. But this is what happens when you allow Caters to run a country. Dalinyebo defends his ties with Israel after the government tries to limit his reach. Abatembu King Builekanye Dalinyebo has described the expulsion of a top Israeli diplomat as an assault on the royal family and his nation. This was in reaction to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation's announcement that they kicked him out. The king developed a relationship with the Israeli government after Mtatwa was hit by floods in May of last year. When the Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry senior official David Saranga, whom she referred to as ambassador, came to South Africa, he was told about the severe flooding during his visit. Yep, he donated $180,000 to a soup kitchen run by her mother. And we can't have people eliminating poverty for black South Africans because that would just take all the reason for the ANC existing away. Life sentence for man who raped and assaulted his mother. What the hell? He accused her of speaking about him to other people, so he felt it was okay to violate her body. A 32-year-old Northern Cape nutjob, KZN man, was sentenced to life and 10 years imprisonment for the 2024 rape and assault of his mother. On the evening of December 1st, 2024, the complainant was lying in bed with her minor granddaughter. When the accused knocked on the door, upon opening it, the accused began shouting at her, accusing her of speaking about him to other people. Despite her denial, he made threatening remarks and proceeded to undress before physically assaulting her by slapping and punching her. He then forced her on the bed and raped her in the presence of a minor child. She then asked permission to go outside and drink water, and when she was allowed to, the child followed. The two fled to a neighboring homestead where they spent the night. During the shock and embarrassment, she initially reported the assault to neighbors. Next morning, the complainant disclosed the full extent of the incident to a relative and was taken to a police station where a case was opened. Jeez. What the hell? What the hell? What is wrong with these people? Raping your mother? What a sick animal. Gate McKenzie responds to comments. He says, lies after World Surf League drops J-Bay Open. I'm Mr. Events. Okay. Minister of Sports, Arts, and Culture, Gate McKenzie, the Patriotic Alliance, says J-Bay Open event organizers did not submit any formal application in accordance with the regulations. J-Bay Open lost its spot in the World Surf League's 2026 schedule because there's no money. McKenzie referred to himself as Mr. Events and said they would not have denied had they asked for financial support. Well, don't you have a calendar of major sporting events that take place in the country, major conferences, so you can address them? Isn't that something that you would have as a minister? Wow. Referring to himself as Mr. Events. I see people are saying that I'm the one that stopped surfing. For you to have any international event in this country, you have to write a letter to me. Let's take the letter to cabinet, and then cabinet make a decision. Well, why in the world do you not have a calendar of events? I mean, do you not know what's happening in the country? You've been in the minister for a year and a half. You ought to have a handle on it by now. Joburg to appoint first deputy mayor as Dado Moreira no confidence motion was postponed. Johannesburg Mayor Dado Moreira survived another day of no confidence motion against him as it was deferred. City councilors were focused on debating whether to create a position of first deputy mayor, weighing the 1.2 million rand cost and the necessity of the new post amid rising living cost. After almost 10 hours of deliberations, the mayor walked out of the Connie Bapela council chambers still in his job. The motion no confidence was deferred. The course, the motion was brought by Al Jamal, counselor and former mayor Cabello Guamanda. Yeah. The court has declared an IFP-led Ama Juba mayor and deputy mayor their election to be unlawful. Judge Peter Beisenhout found that several councillors were excluded from the meeting, which was moved to another venue without proper notice, and therefore it's not valid. South Africa is chasing most of its important companies out of the country, according to Business Tech. South Africa is missing out on a once-in-a-generation opportunity in gold and other metals by driving investment away through hostile policy choices and regulatory instability. Yep, that's correct. And SARS is blocking tax refunds for people who are overseas because you haven't updated your information. South African Revenue Service increasingly blocking tax refunds for South African expats, leaving refunds on hold until profiles are fully updated and verified. No expat wants to start the year with a message from SARS saying their tax refund is on hold because their banking details are out of date and are invalid. Yep, make sure your data is up to date with SARS if you still got SARS obligations. More than 200 people killed in a coltan mine collapse in eastern DRC. Coltan, a critical resource for making mobile phones. More than 200 people killed this week in the collapse of the Rubaya coltan mine in eastern DRC. That one produces 15% of the world's coltan, processed into tantalum, a heat-resistant metal that is in high demand by makers of mobile phones, computers, aerospace components, and gas turbines. Locals dig manually for a few dollars a day has been under control of a rebel group since 2024. The precise number of people killed is unknown. Shocking. Artisanal mining is dangerous. Drone strikes in Ethiopia's Tigray kill one person amid fears of renewed conflict. The attack comes amid fears of a return to conflict following clash between government troops and Tigrayan forces. That's the abandoned wreckage of a vehicle on the road. We don't know that that was the one struck. That's a Médecins Sans Frontières vehicle that's been torched. One person is killed, another injured in drone strikes in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. Tigrayan officials have said the drone strikes hit two Isuzu trucks near Enchiko and Kidewe, two places in Tigray about 20 kilometers apart. The Ethiopian National Defense Forces launched the strikes, but no one provided evidence. Israel strikes kill 30 in Gaza, according to their health ministry, in the deadliest attack in months. Israeli strikes across Gaza killed at least 31 people on Saturday, including, according to the Ministry of Palestinian Health. The United States approved a $6.6 billion sale of attack helicopters, Apaches, to Israeli officials. The approved sale of 30 Apache helicopters is going to piss the Palestinians off. 30 helicopters for $3.8 billion and infantry assault vehicles at $1.98 billion. At least 21 people dead in coordinated attacks by alleged separatists in Pakistan. Pakistan has been battling a separatist movement in Baluchistan for decades, where rebels target state forces, foreign nationals, and non-locals. At least 10 security officials, 11 civilians killed as armed men launched coordinated attacks across Baluchistan in the latest incident, and the violence hit southwest region. Several police stations were targeted by alleged ethnic Baluch gunmen in the attack that began about 3 a.m. Pakistan, what an absolute mess. These people can't get along with themselves, let alone everyone else. A court in Canberra has cleared a 100-megawatt solar farm near Canberra amid local opposition. Residents complained the solar farm would have an adverse impact on the scenic quality, landscape character, and visual amenity of the small town. But they're sticking in anyway, even though those people won't benefit from it. 100-megawatt solar farm on 165 acres of grazing land near Canberra will go ahead after a court ruled its favor amid opposition from community members. The appeal brought forth by Wallaroo locals Ben Fawkes and Johnny Rosso alleged that the solar farm would have adverse impact on the scenic quality, landscape character, and visual amenity. Yep. These green energy lunatics keep destroying the world. Police investigate as vandals break a 103-year-old Anzac monument in half. The attack on the culture of the Australian and New Zealand population by whoever's doing this is getting out of control. In recent weeks, there's been an uptick in heavy vandalism of Australian historical and colonial monuments. Tasmania police are actively investigating the toppling of a 103-year-old Anzac monument in the town of St. Helens. Happened sometime between January 20th and 29th. The obelisk was a tribute to World War I diggers, and a police image shows the top half of the structure broken off completely and left on the steps of the monument. The St. Helens Cenotaph in Tasmania was dedicated in 1923 to local men who died in World War I, wrote the British Australian community. Is this truly what we're becoming a society where some people believe acceptable to destroy the very fabric of our local communities, a place where memorials that stand as silent tribute to sacrifice can be treated as such disregard and such disgrace? Yes. A cenotaph is not simply a stone and mortar, it's a memory made visible. It represents young men and women who never returned home, families and communities who carried grief for a lifetime, and generations understood that freedom is neither automatic nor free. Well, of course, that's what you've done. And I don't know who's responsible for it. Maybe it's youth, maybe it's local troublemakers, or maybe it's immigrants. But whatever the case is, whoever's doing it doesn't respect people. New Zealand has declined President Trump's offer to be part of the Board of Peace because they're hate wankers. While seeing a role for the board in Gaza, New Zealand says not enough clarity around how it would operate in relation to the United Nations. Ministers initially said New Zealand was considering accepting the invitation, with speculation fueled by Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Peters praised the United States' withdrawal from the World Health Organization and questioning whether it was worth New Zealand continuing to contribute to funding. Yeah, New Zealand's government's confused about what it wants to be in this world and what it wants to do. Bottom line. Russia's oil revenue is taking a major hit, forcing the Kremlin to raise taxes and increase debt. Price of Russian oil, the country's primary export, has declined under the weight of surging global supplies and Western sanctions related to the war. Last year, Russia's oil and gas revenue fell by almost a quarter. Kremlin is resorting to tax increases and deficit spending to bridge the gap. Things are getting tight in Russia. Tight, tight, tight. Well, Britain's Royal Mail, which was privatized in 2013, is not getting the job done. Late letters are causing distress and to some in Britain and fueling criticism of 500-year-old postal service. Something seemed off about the cadence of Andy Shields' mail. 24 Christmas cards came in a single day to his home in northwest England. Despite having different postmarks, a stretch went by without urgent letters he was expecting, including new bank cards and a speeding ticket. He eventually went to collect the mail himself from the local sorting facility, saying the wait was just unacceptably too long. He's hardly alone. A lot of people are suffering from Royal Mail's collapse. 2 decades ago, they delivered more than 20 billion pieces of mail each year. Today, they produce 1/3 of that, and they can't even deliver it. Long run by the state, the service was privatized in 2013. Last year, Daniel Kretinsky, a Czech billionaire, finished the process of buying the company from its shareholders. Last year, Ofcom, which is regular overseas, it fined them £21 million for failing to reach service targets, for the third such fine in recent years. Yep. Royal Mail, a disaster. President Diaz-Canel slams Trump in his bid to suffocate Cuba's economy. Says the president's threat to impose tariffs on any country providing oil to the island is fascist, criminal, and genocidal. No, it's not. Cuba's president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, has denounced what he called an attempt by the United States to suffocate his economy. Well, yeah, too bad for you. United Nations says in danger of going bankrupt because of unpaid dues, mostly by the United States. Too bad for you. No survivors found after a Colombian plane crashed with 15 people on board, including a lawmaker. Shame. Colombian authorities found no survivors after a plane with 13 passengers, 2 crew members crashed on Wednesday. Congressman Diogenes Quintero was among those on board. The United States says World Trade Organization rules are inadequate after group sides with China in dispute. Yep. WTO is unable to address the Chinese regime's long-standing problem with overcapacity. Yep. The World Trade Organization issued findings yesterday that upheld China's claims that certain U.S. tax credit programs discriminate against Chinese products, drawing criticism from the U.S. China challenged the Inflation Reduction Act at the World Trade Organization, taking issue with tax credit programs that would not apply to Chinese products. Well, the Biden regime brought us that Inflation Reduction Act, which actually spiked inflation. So, yeah, I might side with the Chinese on this one. U.S. government reached an agreement last night. The Senate voted in favor of it. 79 to 21, if I remember correctly, was the vote. 71 to 29, 71 to 29. Yep, but it has to go to the House. So 26 spending package except for Homeland Security, which is only 2 weeks. But the House won't vote on it until Monday. So that's the reality. So that's what happened. But watch what the Washington Post claims. Watch this. This is an outright lie. More propaganda. I brought you propaganda earlier, explained to you what was propaganda. Here's more propaganda. Most of the federal government shuts down. That's a lie. Only a small portion of the federal government will shut down. But a quick end is in sight. The House is expected to take up measure money to reopen agencies. Congress still has to fight ahead over new restrictions on immigration enforcement. Yep. So without funding, the IRS will shutter just days in the tax season. Thank goodness. Money for housing assistance programs could be at risk. No, it isn't at risk. Federally backed scientific research will immediately halt. Yes, it will. Service members, transportation security agents, air traffic controllers will continue to work unpaid. That's also a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because no one gets paid next week. They've already been paid. The military was paid yesterday. I was paid yesterday as a military retiree. We're not working unpaid. Those people don't get paid next week. They get paid the week after that. So until we reach the 15th of the month, the earliest anybody can get paid, no one has been unpaid. They aren't paid on a daily basis. They aren't paid on an hourly basis. They aren't paid weekly. They're paid once a month normally, or they can have the option to be paid twice a month. So that's just a lie. That's just another lie. The air traffic controllers, they probably get paid once a week. They will be working without pay. That's true. Well, the Democrats try to create fantasies about what's going to happen as they try to terrify voters. Once again, utter nonsense. Listen to this. This isn't even real. This is just fantasy. And CNN breathlessly reports it as if it's real. Worst case scenarios. How Democratic election officials are preparing for potential Trump intrusion in the midterms. So Democratic election officials are working to undermine the federal government, preparing for potential federal government intrusion in the midterms. Potential for government intrusion in state elections now in a category like a weather event, like a bomb threat, like a power outage. Officials must prepare for it, said Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon. No, there's no such thing. These people are just creating fantasies. Trump administration will double the number of guest workers coming into the country. 65,000 H-2B seasonal visas will be in effect for this year. NASA has delayed the launch of the Artemis mission to circle the moon and come back, putting women and people of color in space, which is their priority. Yes, it has been delayed by 2 days. No earlier than February 8th, 2 days later than planned. Well, millions of Epstein pages released, and the New York Times is strangely objective. The documents contain unverified tips and allegations about Trump, which is exactly right. There's no evidence against Trump. This is just people making allegations that have no foundation, and it was reported investigation. Don Lemon was arrested and released without bail over his violation of the FACE Act. Well, algae is growing on the glaciers in Greenland. How does it grow on ice and snow? Creating dark zones. Of course, the darker something is, the quicker it melts the water, the ice. A superglacial stream flowing over the ice in Greenland. Patches of clean ice are intermixed with darkened by glacier ice algae. On snow, it's green or red. On ice, it's brownish gray, and it's melting the frozen mass that encases Greenland faster and faster. Wind picks up phosphorus-laden dust from Greenland's rocky ground and blows it on the ice where it feeds algae blooms. So we've been told that global warming is the problem, but this is naturally occurring. Phosphorus-laden dust from Greenland's rocky ground. Naturally occurring, and it's algae that's causing the melting, at least part of the melting. But we've been told it's all climate change. Government enters partial shutdown. That's more accurate, as the Senate passed amendment funding. Politicians are calling the protests in Minnesota insurgency. Well, it is an insurgency. Poses danger when applied to American political unrest. No, it's an insurgency. These people are in insurrection against government authority. Trump has named economist Brett Matsumoto to head the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He said he's got expertise to fix the long history of issues at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Previously worked as supervisor research economist at the Bureau of Land Services, or Bureau of Labor Statistics, and is currently a senior economist in the White House Council of Economic Advisors. ICE expands power of agents to arrest people without warrants. Internal amendment changed the standard for when people are unlikely to show up for hearings. Well, they can arrest people who impede law enforcement. They don't need a warrant for that. You don't need a warrant to arrest someone. ICE has arrested 650 illegal immigrants in West Virginia. West Virginia. They've signed 1,372, 287 partnership agreements with local law enforcement across 40 states. Man, in West Virginia, look at that. President Trump is moving to cut off all oil to Cuba as the U.S. takes aim at its government. Yep, by putting tariffs on countries that trade oil. A judge blocked part of the Trump executive order on verifying citizenship for voter registration. He said that Trump lacks the authority to do that. And I agree. The president has overstepped here. He doesn't have the authority. But Trump wanted to take this to the courts. And that's going to be the news for today. Okay. Thank you all so much. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done it already. Okay, appreciate it. Got a little bit of super chat revenue. Appreciate that. Democrats terrified their voting fraud will be revealed next election. Yet millions of non-citizens, dead people denied the right to vote. Exactly that, right? That's a good headline. You're welcome, work people. Ik hoop jij kan verstaan uitzot. Okay. Cape Patriotic. What's this? Country Road, West Virginia. Almost heaven, West Virginia. Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Yep. Oh, I know that story about BE. Someone sent it to me earlier. I'll get around to it about John Steenhuisen. So it's more racist stuff from the Department of Agriculture. ANC. Look at that. That's funny. Published yesterday. Government. Yeah, I saw that. New EU export quota rules. How it works is simple. The EU sets how much South Africa can export, and the government decides who gets access. First criteria, black entrepreneurs. Brought to you by the Department of Agriculture. Yeah, and John Steenhuisen. 100%. Yep, I already saw that. If I have time, I'll make a video on it. Yep. Enjoy the chicken dance, Conrad. Okay. What did Prince Andrew do now? Yeah, only the DHS appropriations bill has 2-week negotiation period. Once the House passes bills of money, then it'll go to the president for signature. And virtually nobody's doing anything over the weekend, so it's a partial shutdown. It only affects one agency, and it'll affect nobody as of Monday. Apparently you were with us in interviews. What does that mean, Jess? I have no idea what that means. Who said that? How can I be with you in an interview? I'm in America. Your interview's in South Africa. I don't understand that. Unfortunately, I can't hang around late today, folks, because I've got to talk to a journalist in the UK here in 4 minutes. So I'm going to have to wrap it up, okay? Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done already. Share this with your family and friends. Get more. Every subscriber should go get 3 people to become subscribers. Every one of you. If 500 of you did that today, that'd be 1,500 new subscribers today. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? I encourage you. I came late. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your hard work. You're very welcome, Eugene. Oh, someone in chat. Okay, I thought you were talking to me. Okay, all right. Mark says, don't give up your day job. Oh, that's brutal, Mark. Was kommt denn da von Wusterkrank aus Frankfurt, Darmstadt, Offenbach? Was tut dem Bayern los, Wiesbaden los, so gnadenlos? Erbarmen, zu spät, die Hesse kommen. Yes, me again. We know all about your story and how you've had ups and downs, but you've got yourself a good gig. Congratulations, me again. I'm glad to hear that. Corey says, thanks for news. Tip for your cookie with your coffee. Thank you very much. All right. All right. You guys go do it. I got to get this call. Thanks for being here. Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend. And we'll have stuff tomorrow. I may have Refty on tomorrow. I haven't heard from that person. I'm supposed to do an interview tomorrow, but I haven't heard back from them. All right. Cheers.